The story began introducing the creatures known as homunculus. With the use of advanced technology, these beings were created accidentally 500 years ago. The homunculus has few characteristics. With the use of rare materials, they have gained superhuman strength. These beings possess strength, speed, and unlimited lifespan that makes them formidable. Humans regards homunculus as knights and sends them on battlefield as an indication of domination. Being sent to war is a fate that these beings have to accept due to their immense strength. Homunculus also have their hierarchy consists of S rank as the highest, and is stated to possess strength that enables them to rule a country. And the lowest rank would be E rank, that is stated to possess strength that enables them to defeat 100 opponents alone. Even a country that has an army with a lot of soldiers is doomed to fall when its army doesn't have a knight or has low-ranked knights. The Global Firepower Index, also known as GPI, is not determined by the number of how many soldiers a country owns, neither the training that these soldiers underwent. GPI is determined by the numbers and levels of knights a country has. In many countries, knights are treated as kings. Accordingly, the great powers desired to have high-grade knights and became desperate in finding much better rare materials for them to use in creating them by invading countries that are least developed. And one of the plundered country was Arvantes. The king of the country hanged himself due to the reason that he couldn't endure the humiliation of his country being trampled, along with his son who committed suicide by biting off his tongue. The people of the country was overwhelmed by sadness. However, Princess Hen's, the only remaining inheritor of the country, was different from her predecessors. She didn't let her feelings get the best of her and was determined to take revenge as he bit her lips. Whilst on the midst of great powers and homunculus that are still ongoing, machine gear rattle and wind whirring, the researchers are monitoring an experiment creating a homunculus. He calls out to Rittergut to commence the experiment. These researchers were people from Arvantes, the country that only hopes for a homunculus. They began to enter the place, bringing the materials they need for creating the homunculus. He began to identify the materials. The first material was an elixir that can never be made without a god's blessing. The second material was a dragon heart, which is also known as the best horsepower aggregator. The process of casting the elixir and dragon heart begins. Machine rattles, the elixir and dragon heart enter the tube, mixing together. As the experiment progresses, it is stated that knights doesn't only have its advantages, it also has their disadvantages. The researcher yelled that Rittergut's processing is almost finished. He concentrated in monitoring the entire process. After a few moments, the researcher softly says success, and he repeatedly says that the experiment was a success, making the rest scream as their effort paid off. He delightedly says finally, after the plan they made that took 300 years to finish, bear fruit. He checked the class and the name of the homunculus that they've created. The other person confusingly stared at the orb as it says an immutable law. The researchers were surprised on the result. He thinks that the homunculus they created could be an S rank or could be a B rank, which is also fine for him. He figures that with a B rank knight their country would be able to escape from the problems being a least developed country. The wind whirs as he was monitoring the result and the identification of the homunculus. The orb glowed and projected something. He smiled. The orb projected that the name of the homunculus is Seed. He was all on the name. The next one that the orb will project will determine the rank of the homunculus during its birth. The orb projected the name Seed and its rank, which is F. The results of the experiment meant that they wouldn't be able to escape from their problems forever. He was paused and cannot believe the results, while the other was in shock of what was happening. He cried as to contemplate how long it took for them to make the experiment possible. He screamed in disbelief on the results, thinking of what would have been the cause of the problem. He was devastated on the results and silently says this. He cursed at something in annoyance. He turns out to be Seed, the F-rank homunculus. The monster screamed loudly at Seed. It tried to attack him, but he was able to avoid getting hit. Seed proceeded to form his stance and was annoyed on how the fight is progressing. The monster jumped at Seed. It stomped the ground, but Seed barely avoids the attack. He looked at the ground, shocked on how much destruction that attack had caused. The mouth on the belly of the monster laughed at him. Seed was annoyed on the monster and he called it fat and ugly. The monster was enraged by Seed's insult, causing it to fiercely attack him. Seed formed a stabbing stance. It was stated that a homunculus cannot break free from the specifications they have. He launches himself against the monster in a stabbing position. Seed's attack was able to fell the monster, ending the fight. It turns out that Seed is an exception from homunculus specifications. Someone screamed, asking what is Seed's doing currently. Seed is on the top of a person while looking angry. Seed threatens the person to not call him a defect. He spits at Seed, making him more angry. He insultingly says where did the defect come from, referring at Seed, and asked him to let go. Seed fiercely insisted that he is not a defect and is about to punch the guy below him. An armored arm stopped his fist. He asked Seed what was he doing. The person below Seed was shocked and stuttered the name Sir Solid, while Seed madly says to him that he shouldn't interfere with the conversation that he's currently doing with the person below him. Solid pulls Seed out and asks him that no one would hold a conversation like what he just did. Solid asked the other person about his branch and name while the guy was looking shocked. He respectably introduced himself as Kumas and that he is a member of Ginger Infantry Regiment where the Lord Forest resides. Solid threatened Kumas that he doesn't want the same thing to happen again or he will tear his limbs and calls him a lowlife, making Kumas scared. Solid yells at him to get out, while Kumas runs and apologizes for his actions. Solid let go of Seed's hands. He tells him that he is a knight, and even though he is a low-ranked knight, it doesn't mean that he can go fight on the streets. It made Seed point out that whenever Solid wants to say something to him, it always begins by scolding him. Seed asks Solid to stop complaining and just tell him things straight to the point. Solid sigh in disbelief. Seed was telling him to not waste time, but he was interrupted by Solid saying that he is assigned to a task, which surprised him. Solid tells Seed that the task was to fell the Cloud Mountain monster. Seed contemplated on what should he decide to do. Solid tells him to think about it due to the difficulty of the task given to him and tells him that once he accepts it, he won't be able to reject it. Seed bravely decides that he will go. But Solid argued with him that doing the task is reckless and he needs to learn more knowledge about the world, but Seed refuses to yield as he told him wants him to stop saying unnecessary comments and want to do things on his own. Solid held his body and tells him that he needs to understand that the Cloud Mountain is a dangerous place as it's forbidden to go there for a reason and going there is not worth any risk. Crowd gathers around both of them, seemingly attracted on the occurring argument between them. People identified Solid, and whilst the others doesn't know Seed, others refers to him as the defect. Solid turns his back and tells him they should go to another location to avoid attracting more crowd. Seed enters his house. He told Solid that he only has one chair, and he's willing to give the seat to him and he'll just stand while they talk. Seed also tells him that if there's something missing, let him know. Then Solid asks him that he is a knight as he wonders why does he live in that place, but he is interrupted by Seed to just get to the point. Seed's house is plain and consists of barrels and boxes. Solid wants him to understand that Seed doesn't know how the world goes and tells him that there would be another opportunity to come and he will have it assigned to him. Seed uttered the words that people are calling him, such as defect, trash, waste, which made Solid confused. Seed tells him that those insults aren't being used in the country, but even the other knights on another kingdom also insulted him and everyone thinks that he is the hindrance for the future of the kingdom. He screams and told Solid that the Cloud Mountain and the life he is living now have no difference. Solid was saddened and sympathizes on his situation. Seed then proceeds to tell him that the place he's living at is much more difficult and not on Cloud Mountain. He bravely tells Solid that he wants to prove himself even with the dangerous risks the task have. He has to do it. He wants to prove that he is not defective. Cloud Mountain, a huge forest field with trees. It is a restricted area where various monsters reside, making even high-ranked knights stop doing expedition. Seed is traveling on the forest along with other soldiers. The size of the mountain is 5 times bigger than the Arvantes country. Seed was traveling alongside his companions. He stated that other battalion's leader are at least a D-ranked knight, and says that the first battalion leader is rumored to be a B-ranked knight, making the other person awe and disbelief. He thinks the other person must have heard that rumors too, and then proceeded to say that the B rank is a knight spear that came from Gregos. He asked the other person that the B rank knight was someone who entered Cloud Mountain and the solo survivor of the expedition that occurred 100 years ago. The other person tells him that he heard it was the commander of the 1st Battalion and contemplate on why they are following a F-ranked knight. Seed tells his companions to halt shocking the person who gossips and ask him to forgive him for doing so and he will stop. But Seed tells him to keep quiet as he heard something. The grass made swishing sound as if something is passing through it. Seed uttered that it is coming and proceeds to pull his sword out of the sheath. A huge monster jumped. The monster landed at the ground. It screamed at the soldiers. They identified the monster as Karak and they asked company commander Seed to give out command, but Seed is too shocked to move. He asks Seed if he can hear him. Others are also calling out to him, but he is too scared to act. He cursed annoyingly to the fact that Seed had been completely scared. He began to take command and commanded every musketeer to ready their guns. The soldiers began to position. He commanded to take aim at the monster. All of them fired consecutively on the monster. The monster roared as it receives rains of bullets from the soldiers. The monster, seemingly affected by the attack, almost got down. He thinks that the guns work and commands everyone to reload and everyone follow accordingly. He looks worried and tried to tell the squad leader about something seems to be wrong. The monster looks at them fiercely. He tells him worriedly that the attack they've done must have made the Karak more angry. He was surprised as a soldier flew from being hurled. The enraged Karak throws a punch at the soldiers, making them afloat while holding a soldier on the other hand. Seed was stunned as he hears the soldiers screaming and crying for help. He cannot move seeing the monster rampages, but he tells himself that he has to save those people, prove himself, and encourage himself to move while witnessing the horrible mutilated bodies of his companions. He tries to reach for his sword while shivering. It held a person on its hand while the person screams for help. Seed was staring at the person while it cries for help as the Karak bit its head. Seed grabbed his sword tightly. The rest of the soldiers were scared and tries to retreat away from the Karak while the squad leader tells them to stop running away. He heard a cry for help and gazed at the person. A soldier was captured by the Karak while he screams for help from the squad leader. He tells the squad leader that he is in pain and asks him for help. He yells at the monster to release the soldier from its grasp. He cursed at the Karak and repeats to yell, asking it to let go of the soldier while Seed quickly moves to the sea. Seed slashed the hand of the Karak, disabling it from grasping the soldier, and the squad leader was astonished by what he saw. He falls at the ground after escaping from the hands of the Karak. He rushes at him and asks him to pull himself together. They heard the monster scream and looks at the scene, awe at what they are seeing. Both Seed and the Karak are having an intense fight. The Karak throws a punch at him, but he was able to avoid getting hit. He realizes the situation Seed is currently in. Karak attempts to punch Seed, but he was able to slip behind the back of it. Seed then proceeds to do a stance while intensely looking at it. Seed then did an upward slashing attack on the Karak's back. The attack was able to do damage on the Karak. Seed perceived that the attack worked. He assumed that he can win and attempts to do another attack while screaming. He was encouraged that he might win the fight against it, and a loud thud was heard. Seed's sword flew away and seems to be broken. Karak was able to stop Seed and he's being crushed by its hand while his sword was planted on the ground. Seed is in pain from being crushed. Seed then struggles to try and reach for his sword, and this to himself that this is not how things should end for him. A spear swiftly flew. A sound of flesh tearing apart was heard as the Karak was stabbed on its chest by the spear. Karak drops to the ground and fatally wounded. He then proceeded to gesture his hand, seemingly preparing for a spell attack. He then told the Karak to begone and emitted a powerful spell force that ended the Karak. The spear spins in the air. It flew back to the man's hand and he is about to approach Seed. He then introduced himself. His name is Spear, the B-ranked knight from Gregos. He is curious about Seed and asked him about his identity. Seed was stuttering as he is traumatized on the experiences he had. He was reminded the words defect, trash, waste, which was the made-up names he was called on the country. He mistakenly introduced himself to Spear as defective and trash, but Spear was confused and told him that those words Seed just said are nonsense and unnecessary. He also reminded Seed that he is still alive and he should wake up. The darkness of the night covers the Cloud Mountain forest. Seed has woken up looking startled. He woke up and seems that Spear appears to not have a left arm. Spear has watched Seed over the course of time. Spear asked him if he already regained his senses and glad that the first aid he did on him worked. Seed felt sudden severe pain on his chest. Spear told him that even though Seed is a knight, his current condition hinders him from moving and suggests that he needs to lie down and rest. Seed asked him what has happened. Spear told him that after discovering that Seed's group is on the brink of getting wiped out, his companions had come to take over the fight. While Spear has wore his prosthetic arm, Seed asked him how many soldiers have managed to survive from the encounter. He then pointed at a person at a direction. It was then revealed that only few soldiers managed to survive, which made Seed look troubled. Only few managed to survive, and they were traumatized from the encounter. Spear then told him that the odds of soldiers escaping is highly impossible. He tells Seed that there is no point in counting the remaining soldiers, which left him stunned. Spear looks at him, seeing his reaction. The dusk covers the entire forest. He told a person to notify them. His guard duty is finished and the other intend to take over the guard duty. He also asked the other guy if there is some soup left for him to eat. The noise was heard along the trees. He quickly looked at the area where he heard the sound and was worried about the cause of the noise. He was ascertain on the sound of the movements. He called out Loss, who he just talked with moments ago, but he seems to be missing, and was annoyed at the fact that the situation was occurring on the midst of the night while a monster was behind him. He was startled as he perceived that something is behind him. He looks behind him quickly. The monster rushed on him and it's about to attack him. A sound was heard on the forest. Seed is currently applying bandage on his right arm while Spear was cleaning his weapon. He asked him if he is Seed from Arvant and introduced himself. He is glad that Seed is able to survive, but it seems that Seed doubts it. Spear insisted and told him that he is too young to die on the forest, which made Seed uncertain about his decision. Spear also told him that task he did was terrible, which made him felt more doubtful. He asked Spear why is the task terrible. And Spear answered that the task was just a disguise as protection for the people, while behind that reason it is just being used for politics and to demonstrate power. He also stated that in reality knights like them are the ones being removed. Seed was surprised to hear that and questionably was able to realize that they were the ones being discarded. Spear then asked him that maybe he didn't know that from the start. A scream from afar alerted both Seed and Spear. The soldiers was screaming to attack while some asked for help. Both of them has their attention on the screams of soldiers. Spear told him that the situation requires them to move and assist their companions. A loud roar was heard. The soldiers were surrounded by the monsters and some soldiers already perished. Someone speak falteringly and identified the monsters known as Zargas. They are overwhelmed by the numbers of Zargas going after them. A Zargas lunges and tries to attack a person. Some screamed that they are coming. A huge wind swiftly flew. Spear and Seed appeared on the scene and performs a slashing move that was able to stop the Zargas who tried to attack the soldiers. They were glad that Spear is there and he commanded them to attack the Zargas one more time while head counting. A Zargas surprisingly jumped at above Spear and Seed to attack someone. Seed took action and waited for the right time to attack. Seed performs a downward slash on the Zargas. It drops to the ground lifeless after receiving the attack. The person was surprised that he's been saved by Seed while he asks if everyone is fine. He contemplated on himself on how was he unable to sense any signs of danger from the Zargas. All of a sudden he was surprised on what he's seeing. It turns out that one of the Zargas has the squad leader from before on its mouth. Seed attempted to help him, but Spear stopped him. He then harshly criticized and asked Seed on what is he trying to do, indicating that helping the squad leader will just lead to more casualties. However, Seed tried to tell him his reason. Spear told him that it was the scheme of the Zargas, and if he tried to help it will just add another pile of corpses. The Zargas moves closer to the cornered soldiers. Spear told him that the Zargas will eventually give up and be gone once it's dawn and asked him to assist on protecting the remaining soldiers. The squad leader teared up. It asked for help while Seed was anxious. The squad leader had tears in his eyes and pleaded for help to be saved. The dawn finally enters the forest. As Spear said earlier, the group of Kargas retreated during the dawn. All of them are tired. Seed was lost and thought he was glad that some of them managed to survive. But he is still haunted by those people that he's not able to save. He was hallucinating and frightened. He's in a place where those he failed to save was trapped and still crying out for help from him. A lot of cries are asking him for help and want Seed to save them. Also, there are ones who questioned him for not saving them. The squad leader corpse was also in his hallucination questioning his weakness, but Seed was able to snap out of it. Since Spear called his name out multiple times, he asks Seed if he is fine, but tears flow through his eyes. He uttered something to Spear. Seed then told him that he is fine and Spear tries to comfort him. He told Seed that Zargas are also known as the Black Panther of Cloud Mountain, and if those creatures decide to hide their presence it would be very difficult for them to detect those monsters in an ambush. He tried to comfort Seed and told him there was nothing he could do about the events that occurred. He strongly questioned Spear on his weak powers while sobbing. Spear suddenly sensed danger nearing on them. He gazed behind him and annoyingly stated why can't he take a break, which surprised Seed and made him apologize for spouting such question. He told Spear that he didn't want to be weak, but Spear interrupted him and asked him to listen. He requests Seed to gather all soldiers and run off the opposite direction while he fights, as he will try to hold off the enemy and provide enough time for them to escape. Seed was confused and asked himself what did Spear mean. The soldiers were running and tells everyone to run from an unknown danger. Seed notices this and he's confused as to why are the soldiers running away from something. Spear was steady, seemingly preparing for the enemy. A shadow of a monster is seen as it approaches them. Seed was startled as he saw the monster while Spear told him to snap out of it. Spear then identified the monster as Volcador. He felt throbbing on his left arm. Spear revealed that the Volcador is the creature who took his left arm. It is revealed that it was the creature who ate his left arm. He was in disbelief that the Volcador is still alive. Seed then told Spear that he won't leave him alone to fight Volcador and position himself in preparation. Seed appears to be anxious, his hands are shivering while holding his sword. Spear then asks him if even with Seed's assistance does he think they can defeat the monster together. He then suggests him to withdraw and save himself to avoid an unnecessary sacrifice. But then he asks Spear on his decision to fight the Volcador, even knowing that he won't be able to win. He kept on telling him that what he's currently doing is also a futile sacrifice. Spear began to tell him about the event that occurred 100 years ago. On the same location, Spear, and together with his companions, they venture to eliminate the Volcador. It caused a lot of casualties, consisting of 800 soldiers and 6 knights. While he lost an arm, he still managed to survive. He then declared that as of the moment, only one will be left alive in the fight between him and the monster. Volcador roars in a loud manner, indication for them to begin the fight. Spear quickly rushed at the Volcador and mockingly says that it was excited to see him too, while Seed was left dumbfounded. Spear flew above the Volcador and is about to hit it with an attack. He performs a downward attack on it. He spun to create a momentum. Spear screams as he does the attack. The spear swiftly moved and about to hit the target. Spear was shocked the Volcador was able to stop his attack with its bare hands. Volcador attempts to grab Spear. He was grabbed by the Volcador and in pain for being grasped tightly. Volcador is about to eat Spear. Seed was stunned seeing that Spear is about to get eaten. A stabbing sound was heard and the Volcador was paused. It turns out that the prosthetic arm Spear wore had hidden blade that he used to stab the roof of its mouth. It threw him out after getting damaged from the stab. Spear safely lands on the ground. He stated that the attack was revenge to the Volcador after it ate his arm. Meanwhile, Seed is stunned, unable to move due to being taken over by his fear. He reminds himself that he is also a knight and he needs to assist his comrade in fighting. The fight between Spear and Volcador became more intense. It is about to punch Spear. Spear was able to block it using a strong, seemingly spell force. But he soon realized that the monster is much more faster than the last time they fought and he is unable to completely block its attack. It caused him to be blown away, hitting a tree trunk. The attack was so hard that it destroyed the entire tree, and Spear was left lying on the ground. He coughs repeatedly, struggling on breathing as Volcador approaches. He thought to himself that he didn't anticipate that scenario to happen. The Volcador stood above Spear and watched him. He tells the Volcador that it looks similar to a pig and is annoyed at how things played out. Volcador grabs his scarf as it is about to eat him. He asked himself if this is the end for him. A sound of flesh was heard. Seed was able to hurt the Volcador by stabbing the back of its head, greatly damaging it and making it fall on its knees. Volcador let a loud roar indicating it was hurt by Seed's attack and dropped Spear on the ground. Seed asked him if he's fine and he'll try to buy some time for him. Spear yelled at him, criticizing his decision to go against his request and to help him, causing Seed to become unable to avoid the danger. But Seed answered that he cannot do it and he doesn't want to leave him alone, but Spear still insisted to tell him that he needs to change his mind and he still got to change to get away from Volcador to save himself. But he kept his resolve. He wanted to prove himself that he is a knight. Spear was stopped when he heard his answer. Seed tells him that even if he cannot become a hero that would save his comrades, at least he doesn't want to be the one that leaves them behind for his own sake. Also, he is hoping that if he can do it, he might hear someone praise him that he did something great for once. Volcador was able to grab Seed. It threw him to the ground. It was so mad and is about to stomp Seed. With no way of avoiding the attack, he held himself together. A thud was heard. Spear stopped the foot of the Volcador from stomping Seed. He is struggling to stop the Volcador while Seed was worried about Spear's condition. He then commanded him to listen to what he's about to say. He told Seed to grab the spear weapon, and when he gives out the signal, he should stab the Volcador's mouth. But Seed acknowledged the fact that Spear is already beaten up and is in pain, but Spear told him that they don't have time for Seed to worry about him. He then told him that this is the only chance they have and he is putting all his trust on Seed. He told him no to frustrate him and go for the chance they have on beating the monster. Seed leaps to grab the spear. He stabbed its foot, weakening the Volcador. It roared in pain after being stabbed on the foot. After stabbing its foot, Spear proceeds concentrate to do a spell force. It was aimed at the belly mouth of the Volcador. The magic greatly damaged the monster, making it scream in pain. It did a backhand slap that hit Spear, causing him to be flew away and his prosthetic arm to be removed. Spear spits out blood after being hit by its attack. The Volcador fell down to the ground as Seed prepares for Spear's signal for attack. Spear then yelled out, now indicating for Seed to act. He yelled and pierced the spear on the Volcador while it's down. Seed quickly moves to begin his attack. He jumped above the down monster. He stabbed the mouth on its belly, which made the Volcador vomit blood on its mouth. Spear then notified Seed. He told him to pull the spear out of the Volcador with all his might. That made Seed act and pull the spear as much as he can. He managed to pull out the spear from the Volcador. Seed drops to the ground after pulling the spear out. He dropped in front of Spear after successfully eliminating Volcador. As he struggles to catch his breath, Spear coughed blood, which worried Seed. He approached him asking if he's okay and to put himself together. He worryingly asks him to say anything and plead for him not to leave him all alone. Spear stuttered his name. He touched Seed's face and praised him that he did great. Tears fell down on Spear's face. He repeatedly says that Seed did great and he's done well, which made him be in tears. He calls out to Spear, but he is already gone. In the country of Gregos, within the dark hallways of a seemingly castle, strange books and in scrolls is found on a room. He uttered the words "what on earth" in disbelief while being choked by someone. He asked the other person what it is trying to doing while being choked. The person, seemingly a woman, gave an intense look at the man. He asked if it is because of what happened previously and persists that it is not his doing. The man is about to pass out as something begins to spread in his body. The person was petrified with the use of red gem behind the hooded woman, and with the use of the gem it absorbed the petrified person. She mockingly says that the person was noisy until the very end, and refers to the petrified person as villain. She then noticed something and tells it to stop hiding to reveal itself. A person risen up from the shadows. She refers to his name as Shadow while Shadow kneeled down in front of her. He referred to the hooded woman as Miss Arnollader and tells her that it's been a long time since the last time they've met. Miss Arnollader tells him in disbelief that he came looking for her and asks him on what the nature of his visit. Shadow then asked her if he knew about a knight named Spear, which she answered from Gregos, indicating that she did know about him. Shadow continued and reluctantly told her about him. He then told her that Spear has passed away, which left Miss Arnollader stunned. She was shivering to learn that Spear is gone and tries to ask him if he is dead, which makes Shadow answered her in affirmation. She was mad to learn about Spear's passing. Miss Arnollader then asked Shadow to open the gate. Shadow immediately opens a gate as per requested by her. Shadow confirms that the gate was finished. She then told him that she will need to hear more about the story once she gets back. Additionally, she called out for another favor to Shadow. Miss Arnollader told him that she will allow him to call her using her name. Shadow was hesitant but affirms to her request. He proceeds to call her using her name Ms. Nile. Back on Cloud Mountain, Seed was holding Spear on his hands. He has already gone moments ago, but he asked Seed for a last request. Seed asked him why was he talking like he's about to meet his end. Spear spoke about his request and told Seed that he has to survive and meet his adopted daughter. He said that the name of his daughter is Serene and she resides in Gregos' capital. On his last moments, he pleaded for Seed's assistance. He had a serious look on his face thinking about Spear's request. He is doubtful that he would be able to fulfill his last wish due to the nature that he is weak to survive on Cloud Mountain, and apologizes to him, but unbeknownst to him, golden snow pelt falls from the sky. The golden snow pelt falls onto the back of his hand. He is bewildered on the sight of odd snow pelt. A huge screen appeared in front of him. The screen projected that he had met the required conditions. He is confused as to what the floating screen is. The screen began processing, and more screen and magic circles appeared in front of Seed while the screen is configuring his data, and stated that he met the minimum level required to access data on Akashic records. He was surprised to the strange sight he is experiencing. The process proceeded to connect Seed's data on ranking level system and flashed a pop-up that it's processing to open the Akashic drive that will commence the leveling system. He was surprised to see the things that are happening. Light was covering his body, seemingly evaluating his statistics. The screen pop-up stated that he has leveled up and decides to update his status. The power surged from within his body, making him feel like he became more powerful than he was before. Seed looks at the screens. His information consists of his name, his current level, rank, and nickname, also known as title. He realizes that the screen is projecting the evaluation from his body, as he's seen his different stats. He was in awe on what he is seeing. After leveling up, he gained 2 stamina from auto stats update, and still has 5 more that can be used to update his other stats. He realizes that it might be a virtual image. He is wondering what would happen if he touched the screen. The moment he touched the screen with his fingers that wasn't supposed to, he realized his own unique power as the magic enters through his body was hidden inside him. Seed then acknowledges it as his own ability. A week later, Seed is seen running on the Cloud Mountain. He is tired and struggling, but he needs to do it in order to survive. A movement was heard along the trees. A huge Karak jumped and is about to attack Seed with his fist, but he was able to spot it and annoyingly cursed at it. The Karak managed to throw a punch but was blocked by Seed's magic. He thought to himself if it is too much for him to fight a Karak. He landed safely on ground, but he regretfully stated that if he knew he would have hard time fighting a Karak, he should have increased his agility stat. The Karak quickly rushes at him and tries to attack him, but Seed was able to barely slip by its attacks. He looked at the Karak as he attempts to attack it. Seed pulls out his sword and slashed the Karak as much as he can. He stopped and gazed at it to see how much damage was he able to do. It turns out that his attack did not manage to fatally damage the monster, and it is going to throw a punch at him. The Karak managed to land a solid hit on him. He was blown by the impact of the punch. He drops to the ground and the Karak approached him. Seed struggling to breathe while the Karak goes near him. He worryingly thought to himself he doesn't want his life to end that way. He's frustrated and doesn't want to die when he just learned his unique ability. He was surprised to hear a voice stating that it couldn't believe to find a knight in such dangerous place. The Karak fell down on its knees, making him surprised. A person stabbed the back of its head. She then effortlessly pulls out her arm. The Karak dropped lifeless to the ground as Seed looks at her. She identified him as a knight and asked him if he was the last survivor of the subjugation order. She also asked him about Spear's whereabouts. A strong river current was flowing on the Cloud Mountain. The two of them headed to a location where someone is seemingly buried alongside a planted spear on the ground, and she asked him if it is the place. The look on their face was saddened on what they're seeing. She looked glum as she tries to ask Seed if Spear is really gone. She also asked him if he is the one responsible in creating the grave, by which he answered yes. He miserably answered that he did create the grave. The woman thanked him for what he did. She revealed that Spear was the only friend she had and was grateful for what Seed did for him, as she acknowledges him worthy of her greeting. She also declared that from that moment she considered Seed as a friend, which confused him. She proceeded to say that since Seed is a friend of Spear, that makes her declare him as a friend. She introduced herself as Gregos' guardian. She is known as Arnolator, but tells him to call her Nile, and told him that she is looking forward to working with Seed. He remained silent as he heard her words. Nile asked her if she offended him, but Seed tells her that it's not about what she said to him. He doubtfully told her that he wasn't able to save Spear, and he just became a burden for him, and is in disbelief that Nile would consider him as a friend, but he was interrupted by her. She told him that Spear must have thought of him as a friend. She told her that it's just how Spear treat others, making Seed sad. He then shook her hands, acknowledging their friendship. On the middle of the day in the forest, both Nile and Seed are resting under a shade of a tree. She is curious about something that she will ask to Seed. She asked him how did he manage to stay alive. Seed is about to answer, but their conversation is interrupted by a monster. The monster gazes at them intensely, seemingly begins to attack. Nile identified the monster as Druck and asked him to wait as she would try to eliminate it, but Seed refused and asked her to wait. He then told her that he will deal with the Druck, which surprised her. He told her that he's collected some experiences, and he is planning to demonstrate his ability. She asked her what will he show, and he asked her that didn't she just asked him how did he manage to stay alive. Seed grabbed his sword tightly and uttered the words level up. He proudly tells her that this was his answer. Nile was confused and asked him level what, while Seed moved quickly to fight the Druck. Nile calls out to Seed while both Druck and Seed is about to attack each other. The Druck screamed as it's about to attack Seed. He reacted troubled as he was scratched on the face by it. Nile calls out his name, seemingly worried about the hit he just took. Seed was able to slash the Druck. He was worried for a moment, but glad that he was able to increase his power earlier, if not he would have been killed. Seed sighs. Nile asked him if he is okay and asked why did he suddenly did that. He answered her and stated that he got lucky. Beams of light goes down from the sky. The light goes on Seed's position, which surprised Nile. She was shocked on what she is seeing. She was shocked to see that the wound in Seed's face are healing on their own. He then told her that if it was the previous version of himself, the wound would probably remain. He was also thankful that he allotted 7 points on his strength. Nile interrupted her as she is getting confused and couldn't comprehend what Seed is saying. He then answered that he can see pop-ups in his eyes, and it's been there the moment he first gained level. Still, she couldn't believe what he said, and she is getting confused on everything he says. Seed then pointed at something above him, which made Nile look, but he realized that she couldn't see the pop-up message that contained information about him leveling up. He also told her that if he closes his eyes for a long while and open them again, the pop-up window with information written on it will appear in his sight. He told her that the first stat that he leveled up was strength. He was looking at the pop-up window while being on a cave. He knew that the stats will still be the same as yesterday, but he noticed something different from his stats. He thought the increased was only by 5 points. He felt stronger than before and is able to bury the fallen soldiers and spear with minimal effort. He told her that the pop-up window began to appear after he defeated the Volcador. He assumed that if he can subjugate another monster, his level would increase. He decided that as long as he have the energy, he will try to subjugate more monsters. And as he thought, the pop-up appeared again in front of him. The next stat he allotted points onto was the stamina. When he upgraded his stamina, his life increased from 1002 to 1052. Nile interrupted him and says enough as she thinks that Seed was making fun of her. He asked her confusingly what does she mean. Then Nile started to told him that knights are not able to increase their strength physically and mentally. She told him that it was the same even from the first homunculus 500 years ago. She is trying to tell Seed that it's impossible for their kind to be stronger or faster than they were born with. She is in disbelief that Seed will tell her that he can be more stronger and have more stamina, which makes Nile ask him how does he expect her to believe his words, but Seed remains silent. He calls out Spirit Visage in front of her, which made her surprise. Nile was alerted and tried to pull her sword, but Seed asked her if that was the name of her sword, which made her ask how did he know about her sword. Seed looked up and told her that the pop-up window told him about her sword and convinced her that he wasn't lying, that everything he said was true. He declared that he can increase his power. Nile remained silent after hearing his words. She contemplated that if all he was saying is true, then it's not just normal growth. She realized that it has an unlimited capability that depends on how he uses it, which means it's a limitless power. She realized at that moment that Seed would have had higher skill and ability that she herself can't compare. On the midst of the day, both Nile and Seed are walking within the forest. Nile slams a tree. A fruit fell from the tree. She catches the falling fruit. She threw the fruit to him, then asked Seed if he wanted to level up, then it means he has to follow the required experience level. While splitting the fruit, Seed answered yes, then she followed that what he needs won't just be a normal experience. She believed that Seed has a lot of room to grow and will be able to gain points when he is getting experience. Seed was able to break the fruit in two. He then gave the other to Nile and clarified that his level is related on the battle he took part in. It's not based on how many battles he would do nor how many monsters he defeated in hunting. She then asked him what does he mean then. She told her that he is able to level up when he fought the Volcador, but when he's fighting Drux he at least need to kill 15 to level up. She then came up with the conclusion that perhaps the stronger the monster he kills, the less quantity of kill he will have to do and vice versa. She then curiously wonders. She asked him what would happen if he eliminate the leader of the monsters. He was surprised about that. But he told her then in that case there would be no difference between him now and him not having abilities, since he believed that he doesn't have extraordinary abilities to fight those monsters. He concluded if that moment comes then he will forfeit. Nile slaps Seed after hearing those words, which made his food fall to the ground as she says next time. She doesn't want to hear the word giving up again. She told him that if he can gain strength by killing powerful monster then he simply just need to do that while he touch his cheek and remain silent. Seed was surprised to hear that from her. She also told him that even with the possibility of him dying, she is still curious about his ability, and she is willing to help him uncover the secrets of his ability. She then declared that she will be his aide. A pop-up window suddenly appeared above Nile's head which surprised Seed. The letters on the pop-up is forming something. It shows him that he has formed a party with S-rank Knight Arnolator, also showing that penalties will be imposed based on the acquisition of the experience level. Seeing how Seed looks, she asked him why. Seed answered that a pop-up window has appeared saying that she formed a party with him. She was surprised and asked him that how is it able to inform him about things like party. She asked if there's a way for him to identify the number of monster to kill for him to level up, which he is clueless, and told her that he is not sure since he doesn't know and he haven't tried doing it. She sighed and told him that if that's the case they must focus on hunting more monsters first. She added that maybe they can figure it that way. On the midst of the day, a Zargus confronted Seed and Nile. It growls at them and is about to attack. It leaps above and targets Nile, but she is prepared. She moved quickly and is able to counter-attack the Zargus. It drops on the ground as Nile sheaths her sword. Seed was in awe seeing her fight in front of the monster. She then told him to end its life, which he agreed to do so. Seed then stabbed the neck of the Zargus. A pop-up window appeared in front of him. She asked if it made any progress in gathering experience for level. He shook his head in disappointment. She then asked him what does he mean, because she remembered that every time he hunts a monster he can level up. He then stated that it was true, but since they have a huge rank gap between them there is a penalty to experience he get. Seed then pulled his sword out while Nile asked her about the penalty, which he answered that a pop-up shows that he can only get minimum point. She then asked him if he know how low was minimum, which he frustratingly answered that he doesn't know. He thought to himself that he won't be able to level up with that method. Seed then asked Nile to call it a day, which she asked if he was putting him in a hard place, but he answered that it's not about it, he's fine, as they leave the area where they kill the Zargus. She teasingly asked him if he is worried about her, which made him flustered. He apologized to her for thinking for her sake. That made her laugh, knowing that he is worried about her, which made Seed embarrassed. Both of them stopped walking. She told him that right now is not the time since they found a monster. A Karak appeared in front of them. The Karak quickly notices them. Nile wondered if the area they are in is the Karak's habitat. She then told Seed to take a break as she moved to fight the Karak. Both of Karak and Nile is about to clash with each of their attacks. The Karak tried to slam her, but she was able to jump and avoid getting hit. She leaped above its head and drop kick its head, which dealt a huge damage. The monster tried to grab her, but she was able to jump again. She dropped and punched its head, which heavily impacted the surroundings. Seed was covered on dust that was created by the impact of her punch. She then grabbed hold above its head, seemingly to perform magic. It caused the petrification of the Karak. Even its body was fully petrified. She jumped down from the top of the Karak while the petrified Karak breaks. He was shocked by the prowess of Nile, a high-ranked knight. He realized that the rumors about her being a transcendent being that is often referred as weapon. He realized that it was the power of a high-ranking knight. As Nile goes to his position, surprisingly a pop-up window suddenly appeared between them. She asked her what's happened that made him look surprised. He then told her that he was able to level up after Nile's fight with the Karak, which also surprised her. A light suddenly appeared around Seed, which meant he leveled up. He was confused and wondering how it happened, while Nile is also confused since she's the one that eliminated the Karak but still made him level up. She then figured out a possible reason how he leveled up. She then told Seed that she has an idea that can quickly level him up, which made him ask how. She reminded him that currently they are focusing on the quantity of monsters for him to level up. However, she told him to look at it in a different view, and why don't they start hunting monsters until he level up without thinking how many points they gathered. She added if 1 isn't enough they can go for 10. If that is still not enough, then she thinks they can go for 100, 1,000 or even 10,000, which made Seed feel frightened. She then told him that they should try to hunt more and rest later. Seed asked her where does she plan to go. She answered that he just needs to follow her and he'll know. At the midst of the night, while both of them are seemingly fighting something, Seed then realizes what place they're currently in. It turns out that both of them are in the Zarga's habitat. Multiple Zargas are about to attack Nile, which worried Seed. Nile then is seemingly prepared for this and about to counter. Nile then swiftly moved and slashed multiple Zargas in an instant. She then stopped after doing that attack. She asked Seed if there is any update. He was surprised that he leveled up. Nile then asked him if there is any change, but he noticed that something is off with his level. He then said to her that it does not go up only once, which made her surprised and asked what does he mean by it. The pop-up showed that he is level 40, which surprised him. Then the pop-up window changed as it shows 41, then changed 42. It became 43 and 44. Lastly, it showed up 45. Nile was surprised to learn that his level increased by 5 points, which she told him that it exceeded her expectation. They are traveling to the 7th Zarga's habitat. She told him that this is the start, while Seed is having skeptical. She added that from that point onwards from the Zarga's habitat, both of them will hunt all of the Zargas together. 3 days later, since both of them are inside the habitat, they were surrounded by Zargas while they are fighting. Nile is seemingly weary. Seed is seen fighting a Zargas. He knelt down after that fight. He was extremely tired as he spoke to her that it has been 3 days since he got proper sleep and thinks that he might be on his limit. She told him that 3 days have passed since then and they only got 7 habitats. She then told Seed that they need to speed up their work while Seed is very exhausted and asked her please. Nile asked him about his current level. He told her that he is level 99. That made her say that level 99 is quite a lot of increase on his level. She also asked a question if the required experience points are increasing bit by bit, which he answered that it might be the case. She then told him that they should try to at least fight one strong monster. She pulls out the Seed and told him to follow her, which made him plead that he should just kill him while he is exhausted. On Cloud Mountain, both of them headed to the Karek's habitat. A Karek appeared in front of them. Nile told him that he needs to take the Karek down on his own, which surprised him. She told him that he needs to be trained, but she also said that she will be watching Seed's back and won't let him be killed, but he thought that he had been killed already as he felt uneasy to the idea. Nile presents her sword to him. She asked if he want to borrow her sword, which surprised him, but he told her that he won't take it since the fight will be his training. He thought to himself that he might like the sword, but he felt that it's a little bit too much for him. He doubts that the training would work. The Karek leaped and is about to attack Seed, but he was able to barely avoid getting hit by its punch. The Karek then proceeded to do another punch. It punched the area that causes a huge impact where Seed is located. Nile was surprised on what she is witnessing. It seems that Seed was able to climb the fist of the Karek and he's about to attack. Seed was focusing speed on his feet. He quickly rushed to stab the chest of the Karek. Then a cracking sound was heard. A dent was formed on the blade of his sword. The sound came to his attention. Then the blade shattered and unable to damage the Karek. Nile yells at him to avoid it. It turns out that the Karek retaliated on him. He was hit by its attack, blowing him away. He was laying down and thinks that maybe he should have accepted her offer to borrow her sword. Nile was calling out to him and asked him to open his eyes. He slowly opened his eyes. He saw Nile was worried about him and asked him if he already gained consciousness. She apologized that she wasn't able to interfere sooner. Seed asked her what happened to the Karek, which she answered that she already turned it into sand. He laughed as lights glow surround him. Along with the lights, pop-up window appeared above Seed, which made Nile ask her what is happening. He smiled to Nile. The pop-up window showed that he reached level 100. It turns out after leveling to 100 he is provided to E rank and he is able to access certain information and learn new skills. He then asked her that he will take a little nap. The pop-up window congratulated him as he is promoted to E rank. A fire is lighting up in a cave. Both of them seek shelter in the cave. Nile was guarding Seed as he sleeps. Nile was looking at Seed as he sleeps. She was fascinated by how he was able to level up and read weapons information, and now the extraordinary resilience. But she thought that even if knights are E rank, they're still gifted with amazing resilience skill. However, in terms of skills alone, the injuries that Seed suffered wouldn't be able to cover his injuries that he had. But something was more amazing than his resilience skill. Seed told Nile that he was promoted to E rank knight, which surprised her. He told her that he has been promoted, and he's become an E rank. Niall was silent inside the cave. She then wonders and thought that maybe after reaching a 100 levels his rank would increase. She remembered that Seed told her that after leveling up he was given points and some of it can be distributed to 5 ability options. She remembered that yesterday he distributed his points to agility, which didn't show any significant changes. But she compared it with Seed's battle with the Karak and realized that it is noticeable. She remembered his words that 2 points are automatically distributed, but there would be some remaining which he can distribute. A voice was heard asking what's wrong. Shadow appeared near Niall. He told Niall that it is time for her to return, but she rejected and told him that she still have some work left to do. Shadow remained silent. Niall looks worried about something. Shadow then understood her and vanished. Seed is seen clicking on the pop-up window. She then asked him if he already distributed his points. That Seed told her that he is distributing many points. He put his arm on the pop-up window and told her he is finished. Niall asked him if he followed her instructions to increase his stamina, strength, and agility, but Seed told her that he doesn't know what talent and dominance means, so he left it out. Seed was then surprised about something. Niall noticed that he grew taller. He told her that the change in his height was small difference, but it did increase. She asked Seed if he is feeling anything strange, but Seed proudly tells her that he had to move and test himself for him to know. Niall then asked him if it was true. She threw her sword. It drops in front of Seed, which he is surprised. She then told him to fight her with the sword, which made him ask what in disbelief. She added that no matter how strong he's become, they are still on different levels. She also asked him if he can at least touch the hem of her outfit. Seed then grabs the hilt of the sword. He nervously prepared himself and positions to attack. He told her that he is about to charge. Seed tried to slash Niall, but she effortlessly avoided it. He positioned himself as he was about to do another attack. He swiftly swung his blade, but Niall was able to parry his attack and told him that he had become stronger and faster. She then retaliated and snapped Seed's forehead. The impact of the snap was strong that he's able to be blown away by it and made him about to lose consciousness. Niall then said that what they are doing is not about him getting stronger or faster. Seed was feeling weak as he remained standing. He tried to attack Niall, but she was able to effortlessly avoid it. He continued on attacking her. She told him that he has to push himself to become stronger. One of his attacks was blocked by Niall just using her hand. He thought to himself that if he kept that pace he will have a chance to hit her. Seed then quickly moved to attack her, but to his surprise Niall isn't there anymore. He felt her presence on his back, but she was able to attack him first on his back. The attack made Seed fall, and she told him that he needs to learn how to put his abilities to use properly. He then tried to stand up. Niall thought to herself if she was being too hard on him. She knows herself that he have some changes, but it took him just a week to do it and will observe more. He stood up and told himself as expected of a S-rank knight, which surprised her. He is standing up again after that attack from her. He then told her that she is right, that is not about being stronger or faster. She had thoughts about him being unbreakable and unswerving. She thinks about the difference it would make after a few more level ups, and what if he can go beyond her skills. She then gestured her hand, seemingly asking him to attack her, as she thinks maybe he can level up to 100 or 1000. Seed is about to attack her again, while Niall thought what if he can level up that much. Seed attacked her again. Niall stepped on his foot and told him that if he relied too much on his speed he would have more gaps that enemies can attack from. He then sit and quickly leaped to attack her. She then told him that if he relies on his strength. Suddenly Niall tackled Seed before his attack landed. He was pushed to the ground as he tries to move. He looked at her while he is laying down. He is surprised that Niall was on top of her, while she told him that if he relied too much on power the enemies will able to utilize it and use it against him. He remained silent as both of them are in awkward position. Niall notices something and wants to ask him. She asked that his body is suddenly heating up and asks if he was hurt somewhere, which he answered no, he's not hurt. However, he wants her to get off him. It was mid-afternoon on the forest. Both of them are going at it as Niall tries to train him more. It's been multiple times since Seed was beaten, but they kept going. He received punch, kick, slam, but he still continues. After going down he stands up again. Seed moved quickly as to try to attack her. He built momentum of his speed and tries to attack her, but Niall was able to dodge it. She then countered him with a kick, but Seed was able to use his shin to defend. He was blown to a tree, but he started to quickly move again to attack. He tried to slash her, but she was able to avoid it. Niall was thinking that his moves would have been impossible to do properly if he was the previous Seed. But she had believed that it would have been impossible, but even now that his attacks aren't that much impressive, she thought that he still improved his physical ability. While she dodged his attacks, she also thought that his pain threshold are improved. She then realized something as she avoided his attacks. She think it's good enough for her to show him how to use a proper technique. She crouched to dodge his attack and tries to build power on her right fist. He felt a menacing presence that she is about to hit him with a powerful attack. She told Seed that she will show him a technique that is gifted ability for a ranked knight, as she thought to herself that it has no use to her. But she believes that it would certainly be of help to Seed, while Seed was frightened on what's about to happen. She yells smash as she sends a powerful punch that hit the air between her and Seed. The ground was torn apart by this powerful attack. It seems that the attack was able to destroy the ground behind Seed. Smoke was coming out of her fist, indication that the built-up power is gone. Niall told him that it would be difficult for him to use currently, but if he trains he would also be able to use it, while Seed remained silent. He was seemingly stressed and called her out. He was frightened and told her that what she did would have been a disaster, and asked her if she is thinking of killing him as Niall walks off the opposite direction. She then called Seed, that made him ask what. She told him that this would be their last day that they can work together, which surprised him. She then revealed that she have some work to do, and she already did her best to delay her call of duty, but she couldn't anymore. She also added that she should have spoken about it earlier. She apologized to him, but Seed told her to not worry about him, he would be fine and they can't do anything about it. He also added that he was originally by himself too, and thanked her that she is able to help him level up faster, and said that he must be the one to apologize for holding her back as he says sorry. Shadow then appeared on the ground. Shadow told her that they need to go. Niall agreed to him. Shadow opened up a portal in front of them. Seed interrupted them and asked her about something that he's been curious about. He told her that Spear told him about the task was meant for them to be discarded. He added that Spear also talked about they're not able to disobey once they accept those orders. He is about to ask her the question, but he was interrupted by her. Niall asked her to listen to him carefully as she held his face. She told him that he can be what he wants to be. She also added that who knows, maybe free will is his true power. He was glad to hear those words. She then asked him to promise that he will not give up until they get to meet again, and ask him to continue to grow. Shadow interrupted them, calling out to her. Niall then presents her sword to Seed. She told him that he will let him borrow her sword. She also asked that he needs to make sure he can return it to her if they happen to meet again someday, as she entered the portal. The portal disappeared, leaving Seed behind. He remained still after parting with his friend.